Hello everyone, welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today's Monday, so we're going to be talking about the top performers. Before I get started, I'd like to say a thank you to everybody that's been commenting, been supporting these videos lately. A lot of you that supported on Saturday as well. Like I said, I hadn't been feeling the best. A couple of you guys wish me well, get better, and stuff like that. I really do appreciate that. But in general, I'm feeling better for the most part right now, so we're going to get back on track, back on schedule. I think going forward, I might try to do the start and sit video on Saturday just because we have a little bit more information at that point. If you guys think that's a good idea, be sure to let me know. If you guys prefer it on Friday, just let me know as well. Just kind of take a different direction with it, see what you guys like, what you guys don't like. But we'll get into the top performers for this week. So these are the 5 top guys at each position, and then a few other notable performances as well. So first off, we got quarterbacks. We got Deshaun Watson coming in first. He had a really good game. If you guys haven't watched that Texans game, Deshaun Watson was pretty much lights out most of the game. 28 out of 37, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 36 yards rushing, and 1 rushing touchdown. If you guys seen that game, he ran right over McCourty at the goal line. It was pretty awesome to see as a Texans fan, but just in general as a fan of football, that would be a pretty good play to check out as well. 35.36 fantasy points overall. This is 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. If you guys use 4-point passing leagues, just adjust accordingly. Next up, we got Justin Herbert, 37 out of 49, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 11 rushing yards. Had a very good day once again. Nice to see him bounce back. I know it was just the Jets. The Jets were playing without pretty much all their top players on defense, top corners, one of their linebackers. And the Jets defense isn't that great overall, but he had a very good game, 33.74 fantasy points. Look for it to continue. Him and Watson are pretty much guys you're going to be starting most weeks, unless they have a really terrible matchup. But even then, they've been proven to be guys that can perform in bad matchups as well. Then we got Kirk Cousins, a very solid day. 22 out of 30, 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 4 rushing yards, 28.96 fantasy points. He was a guy I did mention on waivers last week as a potential streamer. He did hit in this week. As long as he gets passing attempts, he's usually pretty solid fantasy-wise. It's just if they throw the ball enough. That's the only concern with him. And if he's in some good matchups, he's definitely somebody you can consider playing week to week. Then we got Aaron Rodgers, 27 out of 38, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 13 yards rushing. He did lose a fumble as well. So he had 27.74 fantasy points. Pretty solid day overall. Played a very good defense and still performed. He's a guy that you're going to be playing week in and week out. He does have some better matchups coming up as well. This week is against Chicago, though, so it's a little bit tougher matchup, but the Colts were better in Chicago's defense, so he should be fine. Then we got Derek Carr, 23 out of 31, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 6 rushing yards. He played about as perfectly as you could against the Chiefs and still lost. The 1 interception was late, last minute, trying to force the ball down the field because the Chiefs scored and they had to try to get down the field real quick. Can't fault him too much for that, though, honestly. 27.6 fantasy points, another good day for him overall. Or if the Raiders let him play like he did last night, he is a viable fantasy option, but sometimes they put the handcuffs on him. Other notable performance was Phillip Rivers on the other end of that Green Bay game. Played pretty well once again. I believe 3 touchdowns as well, 1 interception. Then we had Taysom Hill making his first career start at quarterback, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns, over 200 yards passing, 50 yards rushing. Pretty solid day overall. Probably somebody you can look at going forward. Let's see how he does against Denver next week, who did get a lot of pressure on Tua. So we'll see if they can get that same pressure on Taysom Hill. If not, he's a guy that you can consider using going forward for the time being. Then we move over to running backs again, and honestly, it's a pretty down week. Dalvin Cook was number 1, 115 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 receptions, 45 yards, 25 fantasy points overall. This is PPR scoring format. If you're playing half-point PPR or standard, just adjusting accordingly. Then we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 reception, 8 yards, 20.7 fantasy points. Did miss on this one. He was my running back sit of the week in my article. And like I said in the start and sit video, I considered him a flex play this week, pretty much. But the way he had to get value in this game this week is if he had touchdowns. And he got 2 of them, so that really boosted his value. If you look at it without the touchdowns, he would have finished with 8.7 points, which would have put him in that flex range. Then we have Derrick Henry, 133 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 1 reception for -1 yards. And he had 20.2 fantasy points overall. Once again, very good week for him. Then we had Ezekiel Elliott bounce back a little bit, 103 yards, 2 receptions, 11 yards receiving, one receiving touchdown as well, 19.4 fantasy points. Nice to see him get back on track. Nice to see their offense starting to play a little bit better. If this continues, he's definitely going to be that running back one status once again. Then last but not least, for the top 5, we had J.K. Dobbins, 70 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions, 15 yards, 18.5 fantasy points. And honestly, he pretty much took over the backfield for the Ravens. Mark Ingram only had a couple touches. Gus Edwards only had a couple touches. We'll have to see if this is what it is continuing going forward. They play Pittsburgh on Thursday. It's that way once again. J.K. Dobbins is going to be somebody to own for the rest of the season. I don't know if it was a product of them playing the Titans, because the Titans are kind of stout up the middle, but they're more susceptible on the edges and in the passing game, so that could play a little bit of a factor as well. Just kind of want to see how he does against the Steelers, but right now he has to definitely be in that conversation of running back 2 territory. Other notable performances this week was Melvin Gordon. He had a very good day. It's kind of surprising, honestly. Miami's defense had been pretty good. They were a little bit susceptible to the run more than the pass, if anything. But Gordon showed out. He played a good game. He got into 2 touchdowns. That really helped boost his day. Then we have Carlos Hyde. He played very well on Thursday night for the Seahawks. If Chris Carson missed again, he's definitely somebody you want to look at picking up. And then we have Antonio Gibson, another solid game, over 90 yards, a touchdown. But Jonathan Taylor had a pretty solid day. He took over the Colts backfield, had 22 carries. And then Nick Chubb went over 100 yards once again. Didn't get that touchdown. That kept him out of the top 5, but he definitely had a solid game once again. Then we'll move over to the wide receivers. And the top guy is going to be Keenan Allen. He had 19 targets, 16 receptions, 145 yards, 1 touchdown, 34.5 fantasy points. So honestly, he's just one of them guys. He's getting so many targets that he's going to be relevant every single week. And you just have to respect that. I know it was against the Jets, so that helped boost him up a little bit as well. Then we got Adam Thielen. Very solid game once again. This kind of makes me laugh just because of all the people out there before the season, in the middle of the season, they're like, oh, Adam Thielen's done. He's no good no more because he's, like 30. Well, as long as he's getting targets, he's going to be good. He had 11 targets, 8 receptions, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. I believe it was back-to-back weeks that he scored 2 touchdowns. He's looking good. He's playing good. If Kirk Cousins is playing this well, he's going to have a chance to be a very, very good fantasy wide receiver. Top 8 fantasy wide receiver. 32.3 fantasy points. Then we had Tyreek Hill, 14 targets, 11 receptions, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 2 carries for negative 2 yards, which is kind of a surprise because he rarely loses yards on those type of runs. But he had 27 fantasy points overall. He's been getting a lot of targets, especially with Sammy Watkins out. We'll have to see if that changes once Watkins is fully back in. Should be as soon as next week. Then we got Damiere Byrd, who kind of came out of nowhere. I know a lot of people were looking at Jacoby Myers in the plus matchup against the Texans, myself included. I'll give the Texans credit, a lot more credit than I thought they'd have. They took away the middle of the field, and that's where Jacoby Myers lives. They tried to make life hard on Cam Newton. Sometimes the pressure got to him, and then sometimes he had all day to throw in the pocket. When he had all day to throw in the pocket, he was able to hit Damiere Byrd down the field, and he hit on the long touchdown, and then there's a couple other plays that he got for about 20 yards. Good day for him. I don't expect it to keep up going forward, but from what it looks like is Jacoby Myers is going to be the clear number 1. And Damiere Byrd is the number 2. N'Keal Harry is number 3. I know they did try to work N'Keal Harry in a little bit in this game as well, but he did not look good at all. Then we have Davante Adams. Once again, is a top 5 wide receiver. This time it was on 8 targets, 7 receptions, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. So he proves that he doesn't need just double-digit targets to be a top performer at the wide receiver position. 23.6 fantasy points overall. He is probably the best fantasy wide receiver at this point in time. Some other notable performances this week were Deontay Johnson. I believe he had over 100 yards and a touchdown. DJ Moore over 100 yards once again. Nice to see them get him involved. He's the best playmaker on their team with Christian McCaffrey not playing, and they haven't used him properly this year. We'll see if maybe it was just because PJ Walker is starting at quarterback and he can move the ball down the field a little bit better than Teddy Bridgewater. But we'll have to see how it looks going forward. Then we got Michael Thomas. He got very involved in this game, so maybe Taysom Hill is what he needed. Maybe they just want to get him the ball early and often. I know I was saying that Michael Thomas needs one of these games, and if he is honestly able to do this week to week, he's going to be that top wide receiver once again. Then we had Corey Davis, another solid day, over 100 yards receiving. Then last but not least, we got the tight end position, and honestly, this was a better week for the tight end position. We've been knocking it all year. It's been pretty bad all year. We had weeks where 13 points got you to be the top guy, multiple weeks. Or if you got 40 yards and a touchdown, you were in the top 5 pretty much. Or we got a little bit at the tail end of the top 5, but we have more top performances. We got Travis Kelce, 10 targets, 8 receptions, 127 yards, 1 touchdown. 26.86 fantasy points. The number's a little odd because they did line him up for a direct snap where he pitched the ball forward, so it counted as a pass. So you got to count that in there as well. It was a really weird play. It shouldn't have worked out, and they really got lucky that it did work out the way that it did. Don't expect much more passing-wise for Travis Kelce, though, this year. Then we got Darren Waller, 7 targets, 7 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown, 21.8 fantasy points. So pretty much the top tight end and the second tight end were 1 and 2 this week. And then if you consider Mark Andrews the third, which some people do, I won't disagree with that at all. He finished third, so he had 1, 2, 3 in order pretty much this week. Mark Andrews, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 96 yards, 1 touchdown, 20.6 fantasy points. Then next up we got Dallas Goedert, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 77 yards, 1 touchdown, and 18.7 fantasy points overall. Honestly, going into this game, I didn't know what to expect with Dallas Goedert because Carson Wentz is not really thrown to him too much in the couple games that he's played. Carson Wentz hasn't looked that good. It was a rain game. It's hard to know what to expect, especially in the passing game when the weather is like that. But he came out with a solid day. Obviously, the touchdown late in the game helped him out quite a bit. Then we had Robert Tonyan, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 44 yards, 1 touchdown, 15.4 fantasy points. Solid day for him overall. But once again, he's a boom-bust tight end. If you get that touchdown, he is going to help you. If you don't get that touchdown, he's probably not going to help you at all. But that's kind of the way most of the tight ends are this year. Then we got the notable performances. Otherwise, I got Jordan Akins down for the Texans. He had 5 catches, 83 yards. He actually looked pretty good in this game, which is kind of surprising. I'm always disappointed with Jordan Akins. Every once in a while, he'll flash, and then he'll just disappear. So I don't think this is going to continue. Just a guy to keep your eye out on. Then last but not least, if you guys play in that ESPN league, you love him, you hate him, Taysom Hill. Obviously, he would have been the tight end 2 in ESPN scoring if you are in ESPN. I left him on the bottom list, put an asterisk next to his name because it's not fair to other formats that don't have him listed as tight end. But I figure I just mention him. But with that being said, these are the top performers from this past week, week 11. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments whether these guys are going to be able to repeat, who you think the top performers are going to be for next week, and if you guys think I missed anyone. Once again, if you need to reach out to me for any reason at all, whether it's waiver advice, trade advice, start-sit decisions, anything like that, feel free to do so, whether it's down in the comments, at my email, coachcraigsports@gmail.com, on Twitter at coachcraigsport, or on the Coach Craig Sports Facebook page. If you guys liked and enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, and that's one for you, the viewers. If you're a new or current subscriber who has yet to do so, also hit that notification bell. It'll let you know every single time I post up a video. Like I've been saying, post up 5 videos a week, generally Monday through Friday. Like I said with the start sit earlier in this video, I'm looking for your guys' opinion whether I should do that on Fridays, if you guys like it on Friday, or on Saturday. Saturday we do have a little bit more information out at that time. It worked out pretty well last week. I think a lot of you guys enjoyed it that way. So we could try that again this week and see how it turns out as well. But with that being said, that's all I got for this video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.